All right, so this is a review of our problems for quiz B. I'll go over all of these and justify my answers for them, and hopefully your answers match mine, but if they don't, hopefully you can figure out where you're missing things or what you're going wrong or what you're misunderstanding. And then, yeah, let me know if you are still missing something or feeling like you need some help with these. So first thing we're doing is we're looking at a growth pattern here, and part A says it wants us to draw figures 0 and 4 above. Now, I always think it's easier to, first look at these, but then draw figure 4, and then it makes it easier to go backwards and draw figure 0. Some students are really fast and don't like to do it that way. But when I'm looking at this figure, and then I look at the next one, I see that the new tiles are here, these tiles, and these tiles. And then my shape here, I see that there's these three things in the middle. I still see those. So the middle shape is sort of like in the middle here, or the middle shape is sort of like my figure 2. So this one looks like my new tiles are sort of out here. And so I am noticing, and then so if I go backwards, I notice that the things that are missing from figure 2 that are not in figure 1 are these ones. And then I'm noticing a pattern where it's going, you sort of have these 2 here, and then the 2 sort of go high and low, and then you have 2 in the middle. So I think that the tiles that were new in figure 1 are probably these ones here, like that. So I see a pattern where it's going corners, it's going sort of like outside corners to like inside edges, outside corners. So I think my next one is just going to look exactly like this. Let's see. I'm just going to copy. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste an image of it so that I can draw on it. So then, if that's true, then I think that the next thing for my pattern would be to then have, since it was going like corner, inside edge, corners to inside edges, I think my new pattern here should be the inside edges. So it's going to add 2 right there and 2 right there. And if I'm going backwards enough, I see that, right, if I was adding edges and then corners and then edges and then corners, if I was going the other way, I would take them away. And so I took away the edges here. Before this one, I have to take away the corners. So that makes me think that this is what my figure 0 will look like, will be this, because these corners would go away. And so it's sort of this interesting pattern. So the way I see it is that there's sort of these original tiles in the middle, and that the new tiles are kind of like growing out from them in sort of like a zigzag, like zigzag, zigzag, and that it's just going back and forth like that on all of the corners. So in figure 3, it would look like this. Looks like a little, I don't know, Charlie Brown shirt or something is happening here. And so it's just sort of going at an angle, and then so those little sort of wavy tentacles or whatever that are growing out from the middle get shorter and shorter, but that the middle amount would be like that. That's how I see this pattern growing. So figure 1, then the next thing it says is, how many tiles will figure 13 have? Show how you found your answer. And then for C, it says write the rule. Now, when I'm thinking about this, I like using rules so much that I like to write the rule first. So the things that I notice about the rule here are, I know that whenever I'm writing a rule, it needs to be in y equals m x plus b form. And so when I look at this, I am going to remember that b, I always use green for b, I don't know why, but b is always the number of, like the initial amount, so how much is in figure 0 when this growth pattern starts, and that amount is 2, so that is my rule. And then I also, for m, I am looking at how much it grows every time, so each time I notice that it's growing by 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 4 again. So it's always growing by 4, so that should be a 4. So my growth pattern here is y equals 4x plus 2. That is my pattern for C. And I didn't forget B, but I like to figure this out in order to figure out B. There are lots of other ways to figure this out, but I like this way. So then what I would do is I would use my rule. So my rule, I said, is y equals 4x plus 2. And I know that it asked me, what will the figure number, how many tiles will be in figure 13? And throughout our class, we have always talked about how x, the figure number is representing x, right? So these are all my x values here, and then my tiles are the y values. So tiles are equal to 4 times the figure number plus 2. That should get me my answer. So I am just going to plug that in, and I am going to change it to y equals 4 times the figure number, which we said was 13, plus 2. So 4 times 13 is 4 times 10, which is 40, plus 4 times 3, which is 12, makes 52, plus 2 more. So my tiles, which are y, should equal my figure number times 4 plus 2, which is 54. So this tells me that tiles equal y, and y equals 54. So tiles equals 54 in figure 13. So that's how we figure out part 1. A lot of students used a table for this, and to use a table, it would be just fine to draw some lines. I'll try to draw this fairly well, but if I was using a table, I would do my figure numbers on the top and my tiles on the bottom. And I know that my figure numbers are x and my tiles are y, so I'm just going to label those. And then I know that in figure number 0, my tiles are 2. And in figure number 1, my tiles are 6. Figure 2 has 10. Figure 3 is 4 more again, so it must be 14. Figure 4 is 4 more again, so it must be 18. I'm going to move this down just a little bit so I have room for my table here. And if I was to keep going, I would do 5 and 6. Looks like I need a longer table, so I'm going to extend my table out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way to 13. And so if I'm just adding 4 every time, like a lot of students actually did this, and this is fine. 18 plus 4 is 22, so the figure 5 would be 22. Plus 4 would be 26. Plus 4 would be, plus 4 would be 30. Plus 4 would be 34. Plus 4 would be 38. Plus 4 would be 42. Plus 4 would be 46. Plus 4 would be 50. Plus 4 would be 54. Okay, had a little trouble with my adding 4s there. Sorry about that, but we can see that figure 13 has 54 tiles, which matches my answer down here. But a lot of students that got this wrong, tended to say that they would do some math, like they would say, well, I know that figure 3 has 14, and then they would like multiply by 4 to get figure 12, or they would say figure 1 has 6, and they would multiply by 13 to get 13, and then they would multiply the bottom by the same thing. That is a proportional relationship, and because this does not go through 0, 0, this is not a proportional relationship. So some students, if you did say something like, I multiplied this times 13, and then I multiplied this times 13, there's actually evidence on the table that this is not going to work. You can test that theory by just trying it out with a different, let's use a different color here. You can try it out with like a different value and see if it works here. So does it work here? If I multiply 1 times 2 to get 2, does this also multiply by 2? If I multiply 6 by 2, will I get 10, right? This information in here, we already have this information, so we can confirm that this pattern does not work. And if that pattern doesn't work, you shouldn't use it again. If it doesn't work once, it's not going to work again later in the same pattern. So 6 times 13 is not 54, and some students told me that, and that is probably why you missed it. All right. Let me know if you have any